What's up everyone? My name is Adrian and today we are going to take a look at something different. In front of me I have an assignment that I found online. I have no idea if it's from a company or something like that, but it just caught my eye and I thought why not turn it into a video. So as you can see, we'll need to create a Spring Boot application that will have some endpoints. But the interesting part is that we won't have anything stored in the database. Everything will be in memory, and we will actually fetch these posts from this endpoint, and we'll store those in memory, and we'll manipulate that data according to the instructions below. So create a REST endpoint that will read the above JSON feed using HTTP. The service should perform the following tasks: count endpoint, tell you the number of unique user IDs in the JSON, return in JSON response. We will have to update the user list endpoint and modify the fourth JSON array item, changing the title and body of the object to 1800 flowers, and return the modified JSON in the endpoint response. So for this video, I'm going to focus only on the first 5 points, and we'll leave the unit tests and the Docker containers for the next video. And I added some extra steps, so I plan to create the Git repo, make a video on how we can create a Git repo and push this project there. Maybe then link to a MySQL database, so we'll have JPA involved, and add Spring Security. We can also add users, etc. And also one other video may be how to deploy this to AWS, to an EC2 server, and then maybe we will just use an S3 bucket, and we will, I don't know on what occasion, but maybe we can store these posts in an S3 bucket. So let's get started. And previously I created this project. It's just called an assignment, and it's an empty Spring Boot application. If we run it, we can see that it will be just available in the 8080 port here. Okay, and according to this endpoint, we can see that we will have a list of JSON objects, and the structure is that it has a user ID, it has an actual ID of itself, a title, and a body. Okay, so first step that we need to do is we need to create a model package, and we name it model, and inside we'll create the post class, because when we will fetch the data from the JSON placeholder endpoint, we'll see that we need to map it to something, and the best is to do it this way. We will create the post class here, and then on startup we'll map it to that list, and we will have it in our memory so we can manipulate it later. Okay, so first things first, let's create private int user ID. So this should match to this one. Okay, so the structure must be the same: private int ID, private string title, private string body. Okay, and let's go and generate the boilerplate code. We'll just generate the whole constructor and the getter and setters. Okay, so if I zoom out a bit, you can see we have all the boilerplate code here. And if we get back to the actual main class that runs the project, we can create a method that will run on startup. So this will return nothing, and we can say fetch posts on startup. Okay, so this will have an annotation which will be an event listener, and the actual event will be when the application is ready. Okay. And what we need to do inside this method is that we need to do a get request to this endpoint, and this will return us this list. Okay, so for this I'm going to use the web client, and the web client is an asynchronous non-blocking way to do HTTP requests from a Spring Boot compared to REST template, and that is the #1 reason why I chose web client. So in order to create a web client, I think what I'm missing is the dependency for the web client, and that will be the Spring Boot startup web flux. So let's go and do that. So inside the dependencies tag, we'll put the required web flux dependency for the web client. Okay, so first thing, before we create the web client, let's do final string URL, and that will be the actual JSON placeholder URL. Okay, so this will be here, and let's start and create the web client. Okay, we need to import no new, it will be web client dot builder, and before we say build, we will need to specify the base URL, which will be our URL from above, and I think this is it for this. So now we have the web client, and what we need to do is we need to see that the web client, when we say get on this, we need to provide the URI. So as you can see here, my mistake is that I provided the URI here, so I will leave the base URL without the URI, and I will say get and dot URI, and it will be a string of posts. Yeah, and retrieve and to body. Okay, so as you can see from here, we can understand that this method retrieve and the body to flux will give us a flux type of what we require. So if we do something like introduce local variable, you can see IntelliJ helps me do that, but this is not what I want to do. Is that I want a flux of post, and that's our model here, and I can call it, let's say, flux posts. Okay, and let's import flux. Okay, so I don't need this, but I need to say that this will be post class. So here is the part where we say we need to map whatever comes from this endpoint to our model. So that's the reason why we need to have the same structure, okay? And now what I need to do is I need to create a list of posts from this flux, right? And in order to do that, what we can do actually is, let's go ahead and leave it as it is right now, and we'll create a service, and let's say post service. So we created a package, and inside this we'll say it's an interface, and let's see from the assignment that we had what we need to create. So we need a method to count the objects. Okay, so this will give us just an integer, and something else. This will give us an integer of the unique user IDs. Okay, so let's say this will give us a response entity, and it will be of map string. So I could create a GTO, and it would be just one line, unique IDs, double point, whatever, but this is just a good workaround. So retrieve unique IDs count, or maybe no, retrieve, I will say count unique IDs. And next would be to updated user list endpoint. What does this mean? User list. This is a bit confusing. Do we have a user list here? Nope. Strange. Let's skip this one for now, and let's say that we need to update a single post from the post array. And that would be, so this can return a response entity of post. So we'll return the updated post, basically. We import that and update post. Okay, so now we have an interface and we know what kind of methods we need to create in our implementation. So let's create a new Java class, and it will be implementation.postService implementation. So this is just a naming convention that will do this, and this should be a service basically, and we need to implement the post service. Okay, cool. So now IntelliJ will complain that we need to implement those, and let's implement each one of these. Okay, cool. So, but before doing this, we need to have a private, no, it should be public, sorry, public static a list of posts, and let's call them posts, new array list. Okay, so let me zoom in a bit. Sorry, I don't know if I missed here, but here you go. So we have count unique IDs, and update posts. And here now I'm missing this, and this is a list. So what I'm thinking of doing right now is I will fill this posts list from this one. Okay, so let's do it and try it, and maybe we can just create an endpoint to count the posts. Okay, so let's do this. So post controller. So now I need to create a post controller, but before that, let's say post service implementation dot posts will be equal to flux posts dot to stream. So we want those to be a stream, and we'll collect them into a list. Alrighty, so this is it. Now when this code executes, we need to have this array filled in already. Okay, and let's say we want to return post.size. Okay, all good. Now let's get started and create a controller, post controller, and request mapping will be that we need to hit this URI, and we'll say you are a REST controller. So let's zoom in a bit. Okay, I hope this is good for you viewers. And what I need to create now is a public int count posts method, but before doing that I need to have the service injected in my controller. So post service implementation, but this will complain because we need an instructor parameter. And now our service is injected into our controller. So we can say we need to do a get mapping, and it will be now localhost 8080/posts from this here, and let's say count. Okay, sounds good to me, but this should return post service dot count. Okay, and this, if it's working properly, should give us, let's count manually from here. If we go down, yeah, so we have 100 posts, and these are ordered, by the way. So if we start our app right now, let's stop it and restart it. Okay, and what is the problem? Okay, so JP is complaining that we don't have a default constructor. So public post, and we create just an empty constructor. I think this should do the job. Okay, so our app is started, and let's see if we go to localhost 8080/posts/count, if we get an integer saying we have 100 posts. Perfect, so this is working properly and it is fine by me. So what we need to do next is we need to implement the count unique IDs, right? And what we should do here, we should do I don't know, so we can say a hotfix. So if we take a look here, we see there are some recurring user IDs, right? And in order to do this, I will just say, I will put, for each post that I have in my list, I will put the user IDs into a hash set. So the hash set won't allow duplicates, and by the end, I will have just the distinct values there. So let's create the hash set, and it will be of integers because we will put integers there. And let's say set. Okay. And next, what we need to do is we need to iterate over our posts, and we need to put the user ID inside this set. So posts dot for each, and we will have the set dot add post dot get user ID. Okay, so this will add for each post that we have, we'll add it in the set. And next, what we need to do is, as you can see, we have a map here. So basically we need to create a map of string, and this will be the, we'll use the hash map. And what I need to do is I just need to say put and unique user IDs, and the value will be set string.value of set.size. Okay, and I just return a response entity dot okay and saying I want to return the map. Cool. Now we get to the controller and we create a public method that will return a map. Actually a response entity of type map. Let's import the map and let's name this count unique user IDs. Okay. And what we need to do is we need to return the post service dot count unique IDs. Okay. Let's do a better naming here. I'll say this is count unique user IDs as well, because we don't count the post IDs but the other ones. Count unique user IDs. Okay. Now it's not complaining anymore. Let's restart the server and let's see what's going on now. Something I missed. This is a get mapping as well. Get mapping and count unique IDs. Okay, I think that's fine. So post count unique IDs and this will give us. So restart it again. Okay, this should do the job. If we get back to our localhost and we say count, don't tell me that okay, I made a mistake again, I'm sorry. Okay, so now we have 10 unique user IDs, so this worked properly. Okay, now we skip the updated user list endpoint, so I cannot wrap my head around this at this moment, but okay, let's see the number 4. So modify the 4th JSON array item, changing the title and body of the object to 1800 flowers, and return the modified JSON in endpoint response. Okay, so this will be, I think, the last one. And basically what we need to do here, we need to have the int ID, so which post we are currently updating, and we'll have the text. So what we will do is we will have the post. I think I need the post as well. Yeah, so in order to find the post, we'll need to go through the whole list and find the post with this ID. Okay, so post, and let's say current post will be equal to our posts array up here, and we'll just make a stream out of it, and we'll filter. So we'll say filter me all the posts that post.get ID is equal to this ID that came from above, and just find me one of those and give it to me. Okay, so now that we have the current post, we'll say current post dot set title, and it will be text, and current post dot set body, and it will be text. Okay, and we return response entity dot okay, and in the body we'll have the current post. Let's give it a try. So why update post? If we go back to service, I need to tell this that it will accept a string ID and a string text. So it's not string ID, but it's integer. Now we are fine. Okay, so if we get back to the controller, now we'll have a public response entity of type post, and this will say update post, and it will accept int ID and string text. Okay, return post service dot update post ID text. Okay, but this time we will need to get the ID, and I want that to be a path variable, and because the naming is the same, it won't make a problem. So we could do a put HTTP request, but then we would have to use a client like Postman or something like that, and I think it would be easier if I just say it's a get mapping and slash ID. So now we'll get the ID from here, but the text, let it be a request parameter. So I will just put it as a get request, and it's nothing, security breach is not a problem in this at this point, right? Okay, so let's restart it and let's see if we can update the post. So before that, let's also add an endpoint that will give us all posts. Okay, so it will be public list of posts and get all, and we just return post service dot posts. Yeah, I need to import Java util, and it's a get mapping, and I won't put any URI because I want to retrieve the post at this endpoint. Okay, so restart again. Okay, the server is up and running, and okay, here we go. Now we have the post with the ID 4 here, and we have this title and body. So what we want to do is we say post, we need the ID 4, and let's put the text to be equal to 1800, what was it called, 1800 flowers. Okay, so this should return to us a post, but the title and body should be 1800 flowers. Okay, seems good to me. So if we give it a check, we just couldn't do this one, updated user list endpoint. So I will wrap this up here because I don't really know what this means, and for the next video I will make sure that we do the unit tests and at least maybe and containerize this service. So until then, thank you for your time, appreciate it, and have a good one. Bye bye.